Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Give me just a second. I have one more thing to check on. Let me turn this down a bit. I have the window open because it was a beautiful day today, but if I hear the helicopter hover one more time, I'm going to close it. I've already heard it once, and you know what I mean? I'm trying to be patient, but give me just a second. And good evening to you beautiful people in the chat room. Thank you so much for being here. It's a lot going on in the world. Okay, how is my sound? Let me move my computer towards me. And actually, I need to disconnect this hard drive. So let me do that real quick. And close out all these tabs I have open for efficiency's sake in terms of my computer. Okay, QuickTime has this open. So let me see what is QuickTime. QuickTime has everything open. I have that saved. I have that saved. Close all of this out. I have a video of, well, no, not even say that. Okay, let's close this out now. And let me close out Instagram. Okay, there we go. How is my sound? How's my frequency music? What's the vibes? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Today is Monday, June 23rd, 2025. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. And let the record reflect that we are officially starting about 11 and a half to 12 minutes after I went live. So if someone, once you watch the replay of this, could drop that in the comments so I can pin that and let everyone know that there's like about 10 minutes, as I said, of lag time in the beginning of the video. And actually, I can remove that now. Let's see, who's in the chat room? Peace and love, Tony. Peace and love, Ice Goddess. Good night. Peace and love, Richie Rich. STOshi, I think that says. Peace and love, everybody in the chat room. Malik Supreme was good. Good evening, ZaZa. Thank you for always being committed. Yes, anytime I begin to worry, I just remember. Okay, I'm sorry. My screen got a little stuck here. So I'm going to move this over. Make my job easier for myself. Okay, there we go. I can see the chat room better. And let's see. Knowledge 360. What's good, King? Okay, good evening, ZaZa. Thank you for always being committed. Anytime I begin to worry, I just remember control chaos. We have the power. That's a fact. Malik Supreme said peace and love and blessings to the Queen. ZaZa, much love. Okay, Stash. Pardon me. What's that, like a black version of Josh? Just kidding. T Home. What's good? Peace and love. Easy review. Much love to everybody in the chat room. Thank you guys for joining me this evening. Let me switch out my frequency music. That's actually one of my favorite sounds, but it's a little too loud for what I'm trying to, the vibe we're trying to set here. So I'm just going to set up a bass frequency in the background. So, you know, it keeps me centered. It keeps me, sometimes I might sway too far to one end of the spectrum in terms of the fiery energy or the passion or the, you know, we start talking about the things of this world and it can instantly drop your frequency. You know what I mean? So I keep the frequency music in the background to help me to stay centered regardless, you know? So let me know, you guys, if my sound is okay. I love the frequency music. Cool. Let me know if you can hear me clearly, if my voice sounds concise. and then I will go ahead and get into my subject, which is alchemize the situation. And there's a lot to talk about, obviously. This is a little bit different of a conversation. Hang on one second. Okay, sound is clear. Cool. So, alchemize the situation. I don't have one particular topic. That's why alchemize the situation for me is appropriate, because that can cover so many different things. I do know that the temperament in the world and in the collective consciousness is very chaotic right now. It's very staticky. There's a lot of friction. It's very dense, right? And so the goal of this conversation is going to be to raise the vibration, and maybe that's on a collective level, but if it just raises the vibration for one person that's listening tonight, or that listens to this whenever they listen to it, then that's good money to me. It's 9:10 on the West Coast, so it's a little bit after midnight on the East Coast, and I just decided to go live because for me, doing headline news consistently and being committed to that, and so having to stay abreast with these things, not that I wasn't already, but in a much more focused way, right? Because now I'm trying to consistently put together a body of work to, relay the news, right? Local, national, global, etc. And that covers a lot of different bases. That covers Black culture in America, celebrity culture, the conspiracy element, the political aspect, the race dichotomy, right? The male-female dichotomy. I mean, that can take you in a lot of different places. And one thing I know for sure, and I've been saying this consistently, is that one of their major intentions is the splintering of energy and the splintering of consciousness. Some of us would explain that as, I'm all over the place. If you ever heard yourself say that, or actually said that, then, mission accomplished, right? But now, and that's on an individual level, and then you add the collective into it now. And yeah, the vibration and the density in the energy and in the mindsets, and people are fragile. And it's ironic because, and that's beyond race, that's across the board. But how could the people of God be fragile? And that's how we're gonna know. You know what I mean? People arguing about who are the chosen people of God, and all of the layers and technicalities of that. You're gonna know the people of God by way of radiation, resonance, and the ability to alchemize the situation. So that's what the title of this is about, and it's multi-layered because it focuses on the individual, but then it also focuses on the collective conscious as well. And so my message tonight, while it's for everybody, is in particular for those of us who came here to alchemize the situation. Some, the energy and grid stabilizers, that aspect of it, the spiritual warriors, that aspect of it, the intellectual warriors, that aspect of it, the love and empathy and compassion warriors, that aspect of it, because God knows we're a dying breed. I take pride in still caring. You know what I mean? But yeah, those of us, and it requires, and discipline is one of the words that I'm going to be kind of reiterating tonight. I had a wonderful meeting on this weekend with one of my Climbing the Ladder of Self workshops, and you know, even though I'm conducting these workshops, it's always like super beneficial for me. And so this is one of the things we're going to talk about. And again, this is going to be a different level conversation tonight, because it's just, the vibration is too low. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta, I can contextualize those things, but like, I want to have a soul to soul, heart to heart, like a different type of conversation tonight. These are the things that I'm actually interested in, where I'm attempting to go, where spirit is taking me. But in the meeting, we were talking about, discipline and indulgence in discipline, and the different ways that discipline in this timeline are going to need to manifest, right? And if there is a mass splintering of energy and human consciousness, and there is, what is our recipe? What is our, do we have the self-awareness and the introspection to be able to navigate these things and still be on our square and to thrive? Wars and rumors of wars, right? I hope you guys see the Jedi mind tricks. I hope y'all use it every time. It's like the Joker. There's a Joker antagonistic aspect of this, where sometimes I feel like I'm watching a Batman and Robin movie. No lie. Sometimes I feel like I'm having flashbacks of certain things that took place in maybe a Marvel movie, or a Batman and Robin type of superhero movie. I don't know. But the playbook of Donald Trump is very, very, very obvious to me. It's this good cop, bad cop thing going on right in front of our eyes. And all they're doing is neutralizing us, or attempting to neutralize us. Shock and awe. Okay, we made peace. Shock and awe, UFOs. Then you don't hear anything else about it. Shock and awe, we just dropped bombs on Iran's nuclear sites. We just made peace. It's insane. So it's a frog in the boiling water type of situation, where it's desensitizing us to the severity of it all, the insanity of it all, the chaos of it all. You know what I mean? And for those of us who are, and I think I used this in my last video as an example, on the, looking at this from the Truman perspective, like, nah, I've already seen the other side of this building. I don't believe any of this shit anymore. I'm sorry. So I have videos here in the backstage. I have some images, some, different thoughts I want to share. I have 2 books that I pulled out that I might read from both, or I'm not sure, but a specific passage from The Hidden Messages in Water by Masaru Emoto, and I actually have a video, The Secrets of Water. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, but if you're in my membership channel, you can definitely find it there. I think it's in the Jewels tab. And then The Science of Getting Rich by Walter Whittles. So everything I'm going to talk about is kind of relative to everything that's going on, and then, maybe a little bit beyond, above and beyond. But I think we're at the point where we need to go above and beyond. Like when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. Well, she was talking about some base level. She's talking on a base pyramid level. Right? She's like a chief NPC, a queen NPC. No disrespect. You know what I mean? But when you operating in that world, it's something that comes with that, right? And you have to surrender a certain part of yourself, a certain godly part of yourself, in order to be a part of the team. We've seen it too many times. So, beautiful sister, yes, but a part of their team, absolutely. Her and Barack. But that concept of when they go low, we go high, on a spiritual level, on a godly level, right, is a different type of situation. So I want to start, I'm going to play this video from the Lazarus Institute. It's a membership channel I used to be a part of. I think this one might have been, I don't remember, but The guy who's going to be speaking his name is Brooks Agnew, I believe, and he's going to be talking about the buildings and the stupas that were built in ancient Tibet, and how they radiate a certain energy and a certain frequency, and the impact that that had on the surrounding environments. And that's kind of, I'm going to be like proving that point, but from different levels and layers, right? Because sometimes it's the building, sometimes it's the prayer and meditation, sometimes it's the trip around the world to a specific spiritual place, sometimes it's a holy, temple, sometimes it's finding your creativity and your passion, right? But I'm going to be like talking about different ways that we can tap into, the higher self, so to speak, but in a natural, organic, holistic type way. So this video is called, well, it doesn't matter what it's called. It's just a clip from my library. And this full video is also in the membership channel, I believe in the Jewels tab as well. It'll start playing any moment now. Looks like it's loading. It played just fine a few minutes ago. You see why I said last time technology stresses me out? Because, yeah. All you gotta do is just do your job. Let's see. Let me remove this and we'll try again. Okay. This is it, right? Yeah, this is definitely it. Let's try another one. Well, that is very strange. Hold on, you guys. Let me see something. Okay, you can see the images. Why can't we see the videos? Image.
The size of this bell, it's see how ginormous this is? Imagine the acoustics, and now it's not working. It's on the ground, as many others around the world, just grounded, not sounding. The people used to have on a daily basis this beautiful sound bath, harmonizing their vibrations with the high vibration of this specially made coracle or the bell, and there was an ancient technology of how to make them to a specific pitch that was very healing for everyone. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think it becomes very obvious now that all these bells are now grounded, and I'm not the first one to talk about it. It's just another evidence of it. One day, New Earth and all the bells, my friends, will be sounding again. I pray for that day. Slavic name for this bell is Zlatno Zvono, which translates as golden bell, the mother of all voices. But maybe now it's a time where we access that inner sound, the golden sound, the mother of all voices within ourselves. It's the sound of our heart. Now all these ancient towns are turned into a touristic attraction with lots of vibrant life, restaurants, and it's part of the modern metropolitan, but it's so magical to walk around and just touch the rocks of the past, which hold so much memory. Budva sits right on the sea with local beaches and a crystal clear Adriatic Sea water. Summertime is packed with tourists all over the world, but now in May it's a slow season, so you can enjoy more space. But the main thing here in Montenegro is no chemtrails. The air is so pure that I can breathe without getting sick.
So, the point of that video was to show the bells, and that was supposed to be shown after this video. Let me see if it'll play now. All right, well, let me just pull it up in my library then. I don't know why I already, like, let me see, do I have too much stuff? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I have too many things in here. That could be it. Let's see. See, I was like locked and loaded. All right, we'll just do this another way then. Let me pull up the file in my, okay, let me see. I'm going to play that again. Give me a chance to try to pull these files up in the background. Just give me just a second. I think I have too many files in here, and maybe I overloaded the system. Oh, well, there we go. Let's see. Okay, where am I at in this video? If I remember correctly, I think maybe, I'm so sorry, but this is way not the order that I was originally. I had all this stuff set up, so I need to do this the right way.
We have here on
okay,
Earth,
here we go. This is the original video. Okay, so maybe there was just some buffering or lagging in the background. I do have a lot of stuff saved in the files and whatnot in the studio right now, so it might be making things play a little bit slower, but this is that original video that I told you guys about. Here we go.
This kind of electric circuit that the Earth makes with its ley lines and with connecting points with the magnetosphere and the surface of the Earth on which we live. And we have a symbiotic relationship with this spaceship called Earth. So as individuals, we feel it, we suspect it. But as groups of individuals, we have a lot of power, and we can, as Sasha says, as a collective, or I like to say a collection of consciousnesses, we can tap into this power, and we can realize that the Earth, yeah, it's made of, electrons and protons, yes, but it's made of much more than that, because we get down to this level. This is a classic Bohr model of an atom, so we can understand it. But in our community, we understand a proton to look like this, that it's holographic, that there are frequencies and energies that make up this proton, and that they resonate with each other a lot like color does. In fact, we call the subatomic particles colors. And when we blend them together in real life, we get, of course, a vignette, and we can see a picture of a sunflower. Like I took my students in my lab one day, and I said, "Tell me what you see here." And they said, "Oh, it's a sunflower." I said, No, look closer. And they looked, they were looking for Waldo or a pattern of a camel or something, and they couldn't. And I said, "Well, look here, use this. It's a shot glass upside down called a loop." And I said, "Look very close and tell me what you see." And they saw this. Oh, yes. Now we see the dots and the rows and columns that are lined up to make the colors that make the sunflower. And I said, "What else do you notice?" And they said, "Well, there's a lot of space between these dots. There's white space. There's space between the black. It's not really that dense." And I said, "You're exactly right. So if we increase the amount of each of those in proportion, the sunflower looks like this." And that's exactly what we see in physics. We see protons, even though they look all the same, they weigh different amounts. They have different amounts of this subatomic energy, which makes up the proton. And as you know, for the electrons, we don't really know anything about them. We don't know where they come from. We know how to generate them. We know how to store them. We know how to control them. We're using them right now to talk around the world, but we don't know where they come from. We rub a magnet by wire, and the electrons just float.
Oh, okay. I think I realized what it is, guys. I have to have my hard drive connected. Oh, that is such a... I disconnected the hard drive and then it stopped playing. So I think I have to have my hard drive connected. That is... please pardon me for that. I disconnected to try to make the, the computer run smoother, because the more stuff I have open, the slower it runs. So... damn it, that is totally my bad. I won't do that again. Okay, let's try this again.
We have here on Earth is we have this kind of electrographic that there are frequencies and energies that make up. Tell me what you see here. And this is in columns that are, we see proton. We don't know where they come from. We have here on Earth. We have here on Earth is we have this kind of electric circuit that the Earth, we don't really know anything about them. We don't know where they come from. We know how to generate them. We know how to store them. We know how to control them. We're using them right now to talk around the world, but we don't know where they come from. We rub a magnet by wire, and the electrons just float.
Oh my God.
We have here on Earth is we
Yo,
have
this is wow. Why is this doing this to me? Okay, let me just hold on, because now I'm feeling like technology is playing games with me.
Here, the water was frozen in a cryogenic chamber and photographed on.
The video that I am attempting to show you guys shows Tibetan stupa. Oh man, this is... it's fine. I'll just do the extra little legwork here to make sure that this is shown appropriately, because now this is personal. Technology is like playing games with me. 1 second. I'm just going to pull it up and play the actual video instead of having it in the system. And then we will, we will simplify this process. So thank you guys for your patience, because, yeah, I wasn't expecting all of this. I spent an hour before I went live, putting all the stuff in the background of the site, so we wouldn't have any delays like this. But you live and you learn. Let's see which file. So much stuff on my computer. Thank you so much, Tony, for this for the Cash App. I appreciate you so much. Ah man, this is very frustrating. Okay, hang on.
What is the Merkaba? Etymology. The word Merkaba originates from ancient Hebrew and Egyptian traditions, with meanings that combine Mer, light Ka, spirit, Ba, body, together. It symbolizes the integration of light, spirit, and body into a harmonious whole. Structure and symbolism. The Merkaba is shaped like a star tetrahedron, a form in sacred geometry. Upward pyramid represents masculine energy, the connection to higher realms and the spiritual. Downward pyramid represents feminine energy, grounding, and the physical. Spin and balance. When the Merkaba is activated, these pyramids are believed to spin in opposite directions, creating an energetic field that harmonizes and protects the individual. Spiritual significance. Energetic field. The Merkaba is thought to be an energy field surrounding the body, approximately 55 feet in diameter when activated, connecting the individual to the universe. Vehicle of light. In ancient teachings, the Merkaba is considered a vehicle for the soul to travel between dimensions or access higher states of consciousness. Union of dualities. The shape symbolizes the balance between opposites, masculine and feminine, light and dark, spiritual and physical. Sacred geometry. The Merkaba is often seen as a foundational pattern in sacred geometry, representing universal energy and harmony. Go to my page to learn why to activate your Merkaba.
All right. That was just to keep you guys occupied and entertained while I find this video. Because now it's serious business. I have to get it played now because I feel like technology is playing games with me.
How to do it.
I'm going to delete these things. You guys just bear with me for a second. I'm going to delete all this stuff out the back end of the studio. Maybe I overwhelmed it a little. I don't know. One of the videos was like 10 minutes, so maybe that was it. Stop this right here because I just stressed myself out so bad trying to find this video. And the irony is I know when I finish this video that I'm going to find it so easily. It's all good. I'll just tell you guys, and I've shown this video in a couple of videos before, but it's basically talking about harnessing how the ancient temples in Tibet had these coils, and they were meccas of energy, and that they produced a very high vibrational resonance in the environment of the temples that affected the people that came within them, but that also had ripple effects to people that were, you know, in the surrounding areas, right? And so I know this science and technology was already in different parts of Africa and different ancient indigenous cultures all over the world, so we don't need to belabor that point. And the image on the screen is an image of the Black Buddha, and as I, you know, referenced in ancient people, the original Japanese and Chinese people were, you know, dark-skinned, highly melanated beings, right? And beings of light. So the Tibetan stupas, as with the obelisks in Nubia and Kemet, right? Hatshepsut, she was making her obelisks. Well, Semet was creating the obelisks with a mixture of silver and gold, right? So these are going back to the point of alchemizing the situation, right? These are different ways of alchemy that our people were using, not as means of survival. And this is the other thing that's, you know, relative to what's happening in the world right now, is that they're trying to keep us in this lack-based consciousness, in this you know, this fear, worry, you know, war is on the horizon. There's not going to be enough, right? There's not enough water. There's not enough food, all lies, right? And so our ancestors were alchemizing, you know, the technology that later Tesla would be credited with. Obviously, that's one of the things that was in the video that I was going to show. And then this is an image of the tool that the Moors were using in Spain. God, my brain just went dead. Looking for that stupid video just like totally threw me off my game. So let me just open my book. Astrolabe. My goodness. But this is an astrolabe that's been taken apart, and it represents the physical makeup that they showed when they broke down the stupas in Tibet, right? And this is also the same formation, if you will, that you find in a lot of Moorish architecture, and you can see it in here, that keyhole sort of look, right, surrounding the body. And so that's symbolic for, in terms of that energetic resonance that they talk about in the temples, but then also, like, you know, knowledge of self is the key. And so getting through this passage, so to speak. So I wanted to show you guys that video because it was the water aspect, as you saw there, whether you're praying in whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, right? Whether you are a, whatever your religious persuasion, the energy and the vibration behind the prayer is what activates and creates these crystal-like formations, right? And so imagine what our internal body, how we are being affected by not only the chaos and the madness of the world, but more importantly, the chaos and the madness within ourselves. By the way, family, I put my website and my Cash App information in the description. I think it's in the description. It should be in the chat. And I am definitely accepting all love and reciprocity tonight. So the vibrational resonance, whether we talk about the temples and them emitting a certain frequency that was healing to the body and that was healing to the minds of the people around them, right? And then I showed the video of the brothers and sisters in Paris. This is an African choir. I'm going to play the video again because I played it before, but it was way out of context, right? So now first we have the temple in Tibet, right? And that reference point. And then we have the vibrational resonance of the water and the way that we talk to water and the way that we talk to ourselves and the way that that is sort of doing the same thing that the temples do, but in a more unique, individualized way, right? And then we have this video of these beautiful brothers and sisters singing in Paris, and you can hear their voices bouncing off of the buildings, right, to create this really beautiful harmony. So I'm going to play this again now with context of all of that. And thank you guys so much for being patient with me with my technical situation. So here we go. Y'all, I don't know why this thing is bugging out like this. It don't make no sense. Like, bruh, I'm just trying to play a 90-second video. Wow. All right, this one I can definitely pull up easily. It's crazy how, and this is another point that I want to make, like how technology is supposed to be, you know, making our lives so much easier, and things like this happen. Like, bruh, this is not a big deal. This is not a hard task here that I'm like having this issue with my technology. But let's see. I'll play it this way. All right, here we go. All right, so you see the vibes, right? Oh, you know what? This video of Minister Farrakhan, I think this is what's wrong with my computer right here. This video has been stuck here. Okay, now I should have restarted my computer before I even, but it's all good. Let's see. I'm just going to play like 30 seconds of this to make the point about the bells.
This is the type of ancient acoustic sound therapy we used to publicly have in our ancient cities. Like this is the old town in Budva, which is about 2,000 years old. The size of this bell, it's giant. See how ginormous this is? Imagine the acoustics. And now it's not working. It's on the ground, as many others around the world, just grounded, not sounding.
So imagine the fact that we had, and I remember in Oakland, we used to have a church bell. I think it might have been off of Park Boulevard or 35th, somewhere in that area. But we used to have a church bell that rang every single day at maybe 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't remember what time it was, but I remember, you could hear it for miles and miles. And it was you don't miss, you never miss it until it's gone, right? And now that I think about it, like, yeah, I remember the feeling and the nostalgia, right? And the impact of hearing that bell on a continuous basis. And so now these bells being found all over the world, but being just sitting on the ground, having absolutely no value at this point. So these are all of the like healing modalities and things that we're going to need to be tapping into right now in this timeline in order for us to stabilize ourselves because of all of this chaos, which is why I'm talking about it. So I noticed all the videos, well, I ain't gonna need to say that. It's easy to look sharp when you haven't done any work. And this is the timeline where the people who have done and are doing the work are going to blossom and are going to shine. And so with that being said, I want to read a passage, I'm not going to play around with these videos because it's stressing me out. I have a couple more, but it's just taking me way outside of my comfort zone in terms of, the overall point of this message. So I want to read a passage from The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, because of course the point of the conversation is to inspire and to evoke the abundance vibration, right? And you think about this situation now with this, what's happening on a global level, and all of the money that has been spent on weaponry and on defense systems and on these toys, these war-based toys that they're trigger happy now to use, right? And so with the keeping in line with the context of alchemizing the situation, right? We have to be magnifying and meditating on and emphasizing and leaning into that abundance frequency, right? And however it plays out in our different lives and in our different lifestyles. He mentioned the Merkaba in the video, and it didn't really, I played the other video, but in the one video I really wanted to show, he was talking about the Merkaba, and then I showed that other shorter video. But Merkaba combines opposing energies in perfect balance, masculine and feminine, earth and cosmos. This is so critical right now for men and women. And the meaning for women we need to make sure that we are very much so balanced, because a lot of us, especially in America, because of living in the circumstances of this reality, are very heavy in our masculine energy, right? And this is a timeline where the feminine energy is going to reign supreme. I didn't say women are going to reign supreme. I said the feminine energy is going to reign supreme, because we're in a counterbalance, because the masculine has been reigning supreme. We'll all agree to that, right? I didn't say men, I said masculine, right? And so for women, because we have been forced or programmed or, whatever different, road you want to take as far as that's concerned, our goal and our role right now is to really lean into the divine feminine. And for a lot of women, I've mentioned the Climbing the Ladder of Yourself workshops that I'm doing, and the content, my life, the women around me, the women in my family, the women that I've been, engaging and interacting with, is very difficult for us to stop and to be still, right? And to yield. I'm not talking about yielding to a man. I'm talking about yielding to your higher self. Sometimes yielding to your higher self will have to come through a lesson with a man, right? Marriage, partnerships, mother-daughter, mother-father relationships, grandfather, different dichotomies. But still, yielding, surrendering to the fact that you got shortcomings or flaws or things that you need to address and work through. And you can't pound the pavement or, thug it out, so to speak, right? And a lot of women are struggling with that right now because we've been on go mode. Highly motivated, chasing the bag, career oriented. We got to do what we got to do. The bills got to get paid. If I don't do it, who going to do it? That vibration. And it served us for the timeline that it served us for. But it's a different set of, a different modus operandi now. In the video games, as you go higher in the levels, you need different types of weaponry. You're collecting information as you go along, whether it's, your coins, your weapons, your superpowers. Maybe you have an extra, you win challenges and get different rewards that help you get further in the game. But as you go higher up in the pyramid, which hopefully we're all striving to go, you saw in the video, he talked about the upward pyramid and then the downward pyramid, right? So the balance of the masculine, feminine. And then a lot of our men are really, really, really struggling with submitting and surrendering to the divine feminine. I didn't say a woman. I said the divine feminine, that part of them where empathy and compassion and nurturing and stillness and surrender and quiet, right? And listening, right? The passive aspect of the human experience, which we all have, is one of the things that we're here to master at the same time, right? So a lot of men are struggling in that regard. This union results in an activation of light and protection around your body that can transport your consciousness to higher dimensions. So now in this era right now where we see all this chaos and this craziness going on, and we're like, how are we going to navigate this? Because it ain't even... Think about the fear element of it, and this is potentially happening somewhere around the world. Like, we're not walking outside and seeing danger and devastation. Well, depends on which part of the United States you live in, but you know what I mean? These are things that are happening in other lands that have been happening in other lands for some time now. There's also a lot that's happening here that we're kind of numb to as well. But I'm just saying, like, the way that they are really, really harnessing fear and the fear mongering is a very, very, we got to avoid that at all costs. We're talking about activation of light and protection around our bodies that can transport our consciousness to higher dimensions. That's the tip top of the pyramid. But I'm talking also about activation of light and protection around our bodies, that wherever we go, wherever we stand is holy ground. Every time somebody try to warn me about being in LA, don't warn me about being in LA. You know what I mean? Bless me while I'm in LA. Bless me with protection and with, you know what I mean? Like that thing that comes out of people where it's like, nah, I don't subscribe to that. But yes, we have to have situational awareness, but we also have to become the awareness that we want to have and that we want to experience in these situations. But we're talking about Merkaba. So again, this is a different type of frequency, right? Reminds us of the potential power we yield when we find balance and raise our vibration. What is our vibration? How we think, how we feel, how we eat, how we live, and how we breathe. How you take care of yourself. So the alchemizing of the situation is going to be different for all of us. If you have areas where you're in, submission to your lower nature, it might be sex, it might be money, it might be shopping, It might be having friends around you that are energy vampires. It might be the constant turn up, drugs, alcohol. It might just be your own inner voice. That's the most deadly of them all, dangerous of them all. Women signed up for this independence. The divine feminine come through the woman. So in essence, you're talking about women. Actually, I'm not. And if you would have heard what I just said, then you wouldn't have even said, maybe you said that before I said what I just said. No, I'm not. If you as a man have a daughter, then, or I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but for a man, having a daughter or having a close and healthy relationship with his mother and with his grandmother more than proves the point, because it takes care and it takes compassion to engage in those high vibrational relationships with a female, whether it's your daughter, whether it's your mother or grandmother, or whether it's just as a school teacher or as a coach a man dealing with girls. There's a different level of feminine energy that it requires. I'm talking about yin and yang energy. Going through the chats. The Fibonacci spiral illustrates the math used to perpetrate the war over energy, therefore the consciousness suppression on the earth, as when the sequence grows in number or size, it is due to the consumption of the previous values in order to grow itself larger. The larger it gets, the more progressively moves out of away from the crystal spirit of the original core manifestation. I think that, as with anything, I hear what you're saying. That would be another way of expressing what the Kabbalion references in terms of the closer you are to the center, the freer you are, the further you are away from it, the more in bondage you are. But there's a sliding scale, right? Because there are some among us here in America in particular where we could say, the Black experience in America in particular, we could say we are the furthest from the center because of ... right? Language, religion, spirituality, ancient homelands, ancient teachings, access to our original wisdom. And yet the experiences that we have been through have absolutely fast-tracked us, some among us, right, in a certain regard. So even though there was a serious lack in one regard, the importance and the value of the transition, of the difficulty, of the struggle, has also fast-tracked us in a certain regard. So I think the Fibonacci sequence, as with all ancient teachings, is predicated on what you're using it for, what your intentions are, right? Because we got the new age spirituality aspect that's sort of watering things down, and then we got people that are going back and translating the ancient teachings and watering them down through their, through their spiritual resonance, or a lot of, you see all of these, the cultish element, right, in a lot of these spaces. A few names came to mind, but I'm gonna, I'm trying to maintain a certain vibration in this conversation. So, but yes, an ongoing thing. So you can use the ancient teachings and twist them and turn them to exasperate the lower nature, or you can use modern teachings and exasperate them. I know I kind of went above and beyond your point, but I totally understand what you're saying. I really think it's as with everything, it's based on what the intention is. It's based on the vantage point. It's based on our expectations, right? So for me, the Fibonacci sequence, when I was learning about that, and when I was, they even in the video, I think they took it back to, the starting point being Fibonacci, which is a European name, right? So these are just things that they've learned that we were already doing and mastering. But the the numeric value of pi and the numeric value. When I was learning about that, it was fascinating for me. So it gave me life. You know what I mean? It gave me proper perspective. It gave me, a lot to build on and a lot to grow from. So it just depends on where you're coming from, how you apply it. That as with anything, that really, I feel like, in my opinion, matters most. The ancestors taught that there are 2 points that never changed. What would evolve into masculine, feminine energy? I don't understand that. I don't understand that question. Never stop learning, because life never stops teaching. And I think that right now, I saved this for my next episode of Headline News, but I read this study that was talking about how using Chat GPT, they're testing the students now, and people who frequently use Chat GPT, and their cognitive skills and their abilities to sort of think on their toes, and to their writing capabilities and whatnot, are consistently decreasing, right? People who are using it consistently, and obviously I would imagine the study was like people who are using it consistently and not reading and not studying, you know what I mean? Like depending more solely on Chat GPT. And so I want to emphasize the point of how important it is to continue learning in your field, in your industry, right? Whether you're self-employed, whether you want to be self-employed, whether you have something that you just, are excited about, that you like to research and study, that might not make money, might not, right? The soul of the world type. You want to study the soul of the world and be a part of the soul of the world. I'm here for that too, through traveling, through being in nature, right? Never stop learning. I think a lot of us really have. And I don't mean the program. The matrix is putting in front of us. The war situation right now is a program. The race-based dichotomy is a program. That's why I wanted to show that video about that Tibetan stupa and how that energetic resonance and that vibrational resonance affects people around us. This is we need to step our game up. We really do. So, speaking of learning, I'm going to come to this book and read this specific passage. All right, this is one very important jewel. He says, you can advance only by being larger than your present place. And no man is larger than his present place who leaves undone any of the work pertaining to that place. The world is advanced only by those who more than fill their present places. And this is critical, because even I got a question in my last I've actually had this question a few times about people that are like, I want to leave the U.S. I don't know where to go. I'm trying to get out of here before things go crazy, like blah, 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 all of that. And it's like, figuring out where you want to go is one thing. Advancing in your present place, leaving things tidy in your present place, resolving unresolved issues in your present place, being decisive in your present place is critical right now, because wherever you go, there you are, right? And so I remember in one of Russell Simmons' book, Do You? I read it a long time ago, but he told this story about the guy in his neighborhood. I guess he used to sweep the floor. He used to go around the liquor stores and ask if he could sweep the floor, and finally one of the local liquor stores gave him a job. And so I don't even think he was getting paid. Maybe he was getting breakfast and dinner, right? At the starting point. He was just so persistent in asking to get this job. So he's working for food starting out. And he was so efficient in sweeping the curve, and keeping this area nice, and adding value to it, and changing the energy and change the dynamic in that area, that eventually he started working for the store, and eventually he worked his way up, right? And it's the same story with Santiago in the crystal shop, where he finds this random crystal shop. Well, it's not random, in the middle of the desert, and he needs money to continue on his journey for his mission to find his treasure. And the guy in the shop is, just totally uninspired and unmotivated at this point in his life, so he's not doing anything to try to promote his business. Then all of a sudden, he goes in and starts cleaning the dirty crystals and putting some tea in pretty glasses and putting them outside so people can see them from afar. So he came in and worked with what was already there. He cleaned what was already there. He beautified what was already there. And sometimes it's just a matter of beautifying or paying attention to or giving focus to the things that are already around us. That might be cleaning up your car. That might be cleaning up your closet. That might be cleaning up your house. That is probably, for a lot of us, cleaning up our diets, the way we eat, spending more time conscientiously eating clean, high quality food, being mindful about it. A lot of us, that energy debris thing is a real serious thing. So you have to be larger than your present place. You have to earn the next level. You know what I'm saying? Business wise, I think business owners that's an easy thing to snag, right? Because it's levels to this. Whether you are working at a job, right, and you don't like it there, okay, then do your best. I've had clients where I was like, listen, is this a situation you can walk away from right now? No. You need the money? Yes. I got to find another job. It's not a situation where I can just leave right now. Okay, then do your absolute 1000% best where you are, right here, right now. Whatever that job is. Amazon, shipping packages, all right, then go in top tier. You got your own business and things aren't going well. Okay, well then find a particular area and start, focusing in on that area. Clean it up, fine tune it, trim some fat. Many want to leave, not realizing the problem is actually themselves. I find peace and love wherever I am. That's a fact, sis. And it's really, 99.99% always themselves. The people in our lives are mirrors. Whether either something that we need to clean up from our vibrational resonance, from our aura, or something that we need to learn in order to become the people that we're striving to become. I'm curious what the society, what's the smiley face for? We have to be conscious of what we consume or allow to entertain us. He says, and this is on a totally different page, you have to form a clear and definitive mental picture of what you want. You cannot transmit an idea unless you have it yourself. You must have it before you can give it. Now, this is when I talk about Hollywood being Satan's vision board. This is like a perfect example of how they've taken this science and inverted and made it work for them. Because every single thing that's happening right now, including the war situation, is in all of the films. They've been demonizing Iran and Iraq for, 30 years now? It's in all of the films. So they're forming a clear and definitive reference point, mental picture, mental vision. Think about, let me think, what's the Will Smith movie? The State of the Union? What's the name of that movie he was in? It's on the tip of my tongue. Remember when his wife, Regina King, was like, yeah, they watching us. She was up on it, and he, enemy of the state, right? And everything that they put in the movie is actually like now real time. You know what I mean? We talking about surveillance states. We talking about Palantir. They've been putting in the movies this whole entire time. So our mental picture of what it is that we envision, what it is that we desire, what it is that we want to manifest in our heart has to be clear and present at all times. And they're working overtime to keep us locked in this low vibrational frequency. I hope you guys can see it. I hope you can feel the vibrational resonance, the density of it, even if it's not you. If you're an energetically sensitive person like me, then you can pick up on other people's energy around you. I can pick up on people's energy through this TV, through this computer screen. People in my comments that consistently comment and they're always antagonizing. Yeah, I can pick up on your energy. You know what I mean? On the next page, he says, you can never get rich or start the creative power into action by sending out uninformed longings and vague desires. That's a bar. I got to read that again. He says before that, when you try to impress your wants upon substance, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. You must know what you want and be definitive. You can never get rich or start the creative power into action by sending out uninformed longings and vague desires. That's what most of us have. Uninformed longings and vague desires. This is why they've been able to take control so easily and build their world so easily, because if we really tapped into this science, things would be working in our favor. Everyone wants to heal until the medicine shows up in the form of discipline. They say Hippocrates said that. Maybe he did. I won't go there. But even if he did say it, or whether it's a bar, right? Because that concept of discipline, and when we think about discipline, I think we mostly think about either like saving money, physical fitness, right? Diet. But in terms of our mental and emotional and spiritual projections, right? And how we're living in the world and activated in the world and expressing and receiving in the world. Some people walk out the door every day and expect somebody to, you know what I mean, piss them off or to play games with their mind. A lot of black people walk out into the world expecting white people to be racist, and then they do, you know? But the discipline aspect right now, here we are, summertime 2025. The turn up is real. The Juneteenth turn up was real. You know what I mean? Like we are the party, the celebration, the festivities, all of that is beautiful. We need community, we need connection, we need culture, 1000%. We also need discipline. We also need to be paying attention to our situational or surroundings. We also need to be fasting. We also need to be dealing with our inner voice if it's not serving us well. And a lot of us, I know, because I read the comments, you know what I mean? And I read the messages and I read the responses, and I'm looking at the comments in terms of what's happening in the collective consciousness. Uninformed longings and vague desires. That's a sin. That's what Neville Goddard called a sin. You know what I mean? A vague or unfulfilled desire is really a sin. All you need is to know what you want and to want it badly enough so that it will stay in your thoughts. Spend as much of your leisure time as you can on contemplating your picture. Now, the discipline of contemplating your picture, the discipline of contemplating your goals and aspirations, the discipline of contemplating how beautiful your life can be with the visualization, with the spending time in nature, with the tapping in with yourself, stabilizing your breathing, stabilizing your mindset. And depending on where you are, that's going to determine how easy this is going to be for you. For some of us, it's very difficult to sit down for 15 minutes and be quiet and be still. And if that's your issue, then that's where you need to start. The more clear and definite you make your picture, then, and the more you dwell upon it, bringing out all of its beautiful, delightful details, the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to hold your mind fixed upon the picture of what you want. Now, let me go back to my original title is Alchemize the Situation, right? That's now in reference to us building the kingdom of God, which starts within, right? In the midst of these people trying to create hell on earth. Those two things have to happen parallel, right? Even I know, you're going to see a lot of people that are really serious about their energy and that are really like fine-tuned spiritually are not going to be available on social media as much because it's just too much. You know what I mean? It's the bandwidth is too much. The people are too chaotic. The fear is too chaotic. The people are focusing on celebrities when they should be focusing on the people that actually care about them. You know what I mean? And that are actively trying to change the trajectory. Plus, you can see the most of the content now is AI. 50% of the content now is AI. So who's even steering this ship at this point? What do you think he means by there's thinking stuff from which all things are made? I think he is talking about melanin, since he said it permeates and penetrates the interspaces of the universe. I think he's talking about the mind of God. This is a mental universe, and from all accounts, whether it's the vibrational aspect, the energy aspect, the expansion aspect, right? But it's a mental universe. So I think he's talking about that. Greg Brayton describes it as a web of consciousness, and he ties that back to the Native American. They used to have this concept of the web, where this energetic grid, so to speak, in the heavens, where all of our consciousness is stored, where all thoughts go, where all concepts of reality exist or are created, and that web is a starting point for what becomes creation in the physical. So it's the energetic realm, the non-physical realm, and then that. So it's the mental universe to me. So I would say thought is melanin. Melanin is a quantifiable, measurable thing in the physical body. Thought is not. I let social media go over 10 years ago, and I don't regret it. I'm sure I'm labeled weird or secretive, but protect my space and my exposure is, yeah, I feel you on that. Wow, who is steering this show? Who is steering this ship? Excellent question. And that's a question for us to ponder on an individual level, because who's steering your ship? Not you, Malik, but to whom it may concern. That's something I have to be, if I'm online too much, obviously the whole concept of war, and knowing that they've been preparing and prepping for war for so long now. You know what I mean? And so, like, to see this stuff that we've been reading about for 20 years just unfolding, it's one thing to be living in this. It's another thing if you see this plan that you've known about all this time, and then it's unfolding right in front of our eyes. You know what I mean? So it's a different level of cross to carry, right? Because, yeah, we're not walking around with blinders on. What I mean is melanin creates thought. I don't think so. I don't agree with that. But it's an argument that's not even worth making, because, you know what I mean? Why are we steering off the path here? It's a mental universe. You know what I mean? In the beginning was the word. And that's really referencing sound, and that's really referencing energy and movement and momentum. So from there, it's a thing that it's an argument that how can you prove either? What's the point of even, okay, I read that part. Behind your clear vision must be the purpose to realize it, to bring it out in a tangible expression. And we talked about this in my Climbing the Ladder of Yourself workshop. Like, have you even discovered your purpose? Do you have people around you who haven't discovered theirs? Do you understand that there's a higher propensity for you to have consistent energy leaks and consistent, taking from your vibration, from your energy, when you're surrounded by people who are not living in their purpose. I mean, I just sound as melanin. That's, again, this is, you know, what I just said a minute ago about the people who listen and always say something antagonizing. I was talking about you, and I'm pretty sure you picked up on that. You know what I mean? Can you prove sound is melanin? It's like people who argue are flat earth. I don't argue that because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I wouldn't spend any time arguing that point, whether it's flat or whether it's round. It's still a miracle. So yeah, I'm sure you did prove it. We'll go prove it somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, we having a mental conversation right now, and you're trying to divergent the situation, and I know you are because you always do this. So if you proved it, wonderful. Behind the purpose must be an invincible and unwavering faith that the thing is already yours, that it is at hand and you have only to take possession of it. This is, again, for us right now, those of us who are like trying to walk in that light and be righteous in this timeline, and knowing how difficult it feels, how lonely it feels. I saved another meme in my phone. Let me read it because it's like super relative about how the higher you get in consciousness, the less your phone starts to ring. Did I save it? Who else has noticed how the more you elevate, the quieter your phone gets? That's a real thing. But it's a good thing, particularly because what we're talking about here is refining and identifying our goals, our desires, the type of life we want to live, the environments we want to live in, the type of people we live around, right? We got to be, I feel like I've been repeating myself a lot, and it feels redundant for me, to be honest. I find myself being very uninspired and bored in this world. I get bored with the content online, and that's one of the reasons why it's necessary to have, and not all of it, but I'm just saying, for us to come together and have these type of conversations, because we need to be raising the bar. We need to raise the bar on the level of conversations that we're having right now, because the frequency and the bandwidth is too low. So that unwavering, very intentional, focused mindset, focused emotional energy, focused physical energy, focused spiritual energy on those things that you want to manifest in your mind's eye. Whatsoever things ye ask for before we pray, we believe that ye shall receive them, and ye shall receive them. Now, here's the thing that I've recognized in these last couple of years, and that because I've talked to so many people who are having the same type of experiences. In the law of, I want to say it's the law of polarity, but don't quote me on that. Well, I have the book here. Actually, in the Kabbalion, when it references, I think it's the law of compensation, actually, when it references that, there's always going to be something that you need to work on. There's always going to be something that you need to fine tune. So when you are spiritually focused, you might, not be focused on money and feel lost in that area, or money focused and feel very, void spiritually. That's the thing we see now, even with Hollywood, all these people who have all this fame and this access and this money. And it turns out they're like narcissists and power freaks and control freaks. Like, how you have everything that the average person is working to get, and you're spending all your time harassing and stalking other people and trying to control other people. This is what they're doing. That's why I feel like that's why they're under divine, a lot of them are under divine judgment, because to whom much is given, much is expected. Like Desiree Perez, you got access to all this technology, all this money, all this influence, and you're spending your time stalking and harassing your daughter. You could have put that same amount of money. She probably spent tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands on that situation. You could have adopted a damn family and put them up for 5 years. Some are addicted to being antagonistic. They love the dopamine. I pray that they are released from that and listen to find the understanding of the most. Let me just hold on. We're gonna let that sit for a minute there. Some are addicted to being antagonistic. They love the dopamine. What have I been calling Donald Trump this whole time? The chief antagonist. And so that antagonistic spirit is alive and in the world. You know what I mean? I call them professional persons of opposition. They only speak when they have something in opposition to say. I recognize the people in my comments who do that because I read my comments and I do pay attention. And I know that spirit. You know what I mean? Agent Smith, NPC, sometimes it's that, sometimes it's just that darker energy that's trying to derail the intention of the conversation, you know? But the subject of today is alchemize the situation, so we can alchemize that situation too. But that's an excellent, excellent point, sis. Addicted to being antagonistic, they love the dopamine. And I too pray that they are released from that and listen to find the understanding of the Most High and not their own. And that we all, strive and aspire to that. Peace and honor, and that's one of the lessons of the principle of sound healing, of healing sound pitch. The focus energy vibrates the highest. ZaZa, you are spreading so much wisdom. Much love, King. I appreciate you for that. And that's so. Let me come back and narrow the view, right? Because I kind of been all over the place. If you tuned in earlier, my videos wouldn't play. I got stressed out. I almost threw my computer, but then I remembered that I needed. So our subject is alchemize the situation. I was trying to play a video of a gentleman who was referencing the Tibetan stupa and showing the coils that were found around the stupas and how they were harnessing that energy, and those temples had healing modalities and that they affected the people around them. And then I made the correlation to ancient Kemet and Nubia and talked about the obelisks, but then we could also throw the pyramids in there, especially when they've just done those radiation scannings and found those coils underneath, right? So we can stop calling it Tesla's technology and take it back to where it actually originated, which was of course the motherland. I say originated, meaning it was the ancient people no matter what. It was us no matter what, right? So you see the coils under the ground. But so that's one way of harnessing that Merkaba energy. And then we also had the water situation, right? And the science of Masaru Emoto, right? In terms of the healing modalities when you speak a prayer over water. There's another passage in that video too, and I wish I could have shown it, but anyway, the other passage talks about the water where they did the same thing. They blessed the water and then they started watering their crops, and the crops started growing faster. Now we've talked about what is it called, where you put the copper wires in the ground. You guys know, because we've talked about it before. Something with a C. Some form of electricity that you create, that you use when you put it in the put the copper in the ground, in the soil. It cultivates chi and life force energy right around that copper, and then it helps the plants to grow, right? So that's another form of the same technology. And then we showed the African choir in Paris, surrounded by buildings, and they were singing this beautiful, beautiful, harmonious song, and the sound was bouncing off of the walls, and it was creating this powerful frequency and magnetic energy that I could feel from watching it. So I'm being raised from watching it, right? Then we talked about the vibrational resonance of us as individuals, right? And the collective consciousness and where it's at right now. That antagonistic spirit is high. That racist, white supremacist spirit is high, right? The language that is being spoken from the pulpit in America, the words that are being spoken is activating a spirit. So we come together and we speak words and we activate a spirit, a righteous spirit, a spirit of love, self-love, power, God. Anything that's not righteous or that's not godly cannot be in my space. That includes in my comments. So I will see you. You know what I mean? And it will be addressed. That's how we got to walk in this timeline. Walk soft but carry a big stick, right? A lot is shifting right now in our lives, in our work, in our identity, yet we expect stability in such an unstable season. And that's not fair to us. The goal now isn't to be fixed, it's to be present, to adapt, to flow. That's how we can prepare for what's next today. Now, this goes back to what I was saying about the divine feminine energy. And the divine feminine energy represents being present, adapting, and flowing. And these are all attributes that men and women can and should embody and master, right? So I want to make sure that I let us all know, like, there's nothing normal about this. If you feel unstable, if you feel unclear, if you feel lost, right? There's a lot going on. There's nothing normal about any of this. So this is kind of an unstable season, and we're going to have to ground ourselves and take care of ourselves in a different way. The same way we are focused and intentional about making money, about clocking into jobs, right? About doing the things we got to do to survive in this world, we have to be just as intentional and focused about being present, adapting, and being in the flow. And that's what's going to prepare us for what's next today. If you're not creating, you'll be hooked by consumption. This is the trap of not living and expressing your purpose. You create a neural pathway for distractions so you don't feel the pain of abandoning your soul's mission. I'm going to read that again because this is kind of relative to what you just said in what she just said in the comments. In terms of the antagonistic aspect, right? This is the cousin of antagonism, the consumption, right? If you're not creating, you'll be hooked by consumption. This is the trap of not living and expressing your purpose. You create a neural pathway for distractions so you don't feel the pain of abandoning your missions. Most people have created a neural pathway or have normalized or have become desensitized or have become neutralized or just completely indifferent with distractions, so they don't feel the pain of abandoning their soul's mission. And this goes back to the alchemist and the crystal shop owner, and he was feeling serious pain because he had abandoned his soul's mission, and God blessed him with Santiago. Be careful. He said, well, be careful what you pray for, be careful what you ask for. God blessed him with Santiago. And Santiago came along and cleaned up the crystal and put the shelves outside. Everything they needed was right there for them to create a gold mine. He didn't have to outsource anything. He didn't have to go to other stores and buy fabrics and cloths. Everything they needed to create a gold mine was already there. Santiago put it in full force. You say you want to go to Mecca? To Hajj, right? Talking about the crystal shop owner. This is his heart's desire. And he abandoned his heart's desire. And God still sent him a blessing. Still sent him Santiago. And he was so desensitized to the possibility that his dream could come into fruition that he settled for, no, I'm just going to keep the dream of Mecca. I want to hold on to the dream. So you don't feel the pain of abandoning your soul's mission. It's important that we all have a soul's mission. It's important that we know our soul's mission. It's important that we seek our soul's mission. That's the question of the hour as far as I'm concerned. My soul came here to be alive in 2025 to have to deal with this shit. I need to, you know what I mean? What do they call it in the courts when you sidebar? God, can we have a sidebar? We need to talk. So we chose to be here right now, in the midst of all this chaos and confusion, which unfortunately is only about to increase. Now, last year we were saying that, and it's facts, right? If we look at this point, summer of 2024, and we say, if we said then it's going to get crazier, it's going to increase, we can verify that now in 2025, right? Not that we're projecting that or prophesizing that, but, it's just dissatisfaction brings change. And the ante on dissatisfaction is increasing by day. And yes, it's the price of gas. And yes, it's the cost of food. And yes, it's the rumors of war. And yes, it's these people always having their foot on our neck and overcharging us in every potential way. But more importantly, it's abandoning, or the pain of abandoning, your soul's mission. And part of that is not knowing it. And part of that is not seeking it. Because what else is the point? So people always say, what's the solution, right? Going back to the mental universe, this situation is so much bigger than we're giving it credit for. We like, what's the solutions? We're you know what I mean? We're in emergency preparedness mode, and your soul is like, no, I came here to be God in the flesh, to create buildings that create a vibrational resonance and harmony that can heal people on a spiritual and a physical level. Powerful. They have not just abandoned the mission, they have sold their soul for cheap. Yeah, and you know, it's complicated because we got a lot of broken souls out here. You know what I mean? We got a lot of people out here that have given up on themselves, and we got a lot of people out here that don't have any compassion. People who lack compassion in this timeline scare me. Not on a, you know, on a fearful type way. I shouldn't say scare. They're very alarming and concerning, the people who lack compassion. Like this person. He or she is relishing in the antagonism. Here we are, I'm literally talking. I know somebody is listening to me right now that needs to hear what I'm saying. That's going through a storm. That's trying to figure this shit out. That's tired of being overwhelmed by all of this negativity. That's trying to find a light or a rainbow at the end of the tunnel. And you're still here talking about antagonism. You're exactly what we're talking about. You're a great case study. Thank you for being present. Okay, yeah, You need to get tapped in with your feminine, or else you're going to keep being this person, the antagonist. Enjoy the role. Yeah, the no empathy at all scares me too, sis. And that's exactly what Elon Musk said, that the biggest weakness in the West was empathy. So imagine that. That's the superpower. That's what in the Tibetan monasteries, but I don't want to block them. I want us to be mindful of what this energy and what this spirit looks like when it comes amongst us. This is an important case study. I want us to see it. I want us to be able to recognize it when it's in the room. So we all can, you know what I mean? Somebody might, hey, we can be prepared. But in the Tibetan stupas, right, this same culture was very prominent on compassion. When Greg Braden said he went to study with the monks in Tibet, and you know, when he got with the main master teacher, he was asking him, what is the key to enlightenment? What is the key to self-mastery? What is the key to enlightenment? And he said compassion. And he was like, no, I don't mean like that. I mean, like, you know, if you want to live, you know, to your highest and best experience, and you know, live to your fullest potential, and you know what I mean? He got like a little bit more detail with it, and he said compassion. Yeah, sometimes we do need to smoke, Malik, because we're way too comfortable with way too much. And I ain't. Each generation must discover their mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Frantz Fanon. That's a fact. And you know, so going back to the point, alchemizing the situation. And you guys know, I have to say this because I always end up getting, you know, I don't be trying to hurt people's feelings. I know y'all, when I'm like fiery and passionate and all of that, it's this weird thing where it's like Instagram, right? You scrolling, one person is praying for their grandmother or their family member who has advanced cancer, right? And so it's sad, and it's the music and the piano in the background, right? And it's heartfelt. And then you scroll, and you know me, I got a lot of nature, so I might see a pretty bird or something, and then you scroll, and you know, Iran just bombed back, you know, Qatar, and then you scroll, and some random chick twerking then ended up on my feed because of whatever, you know what I mean? And then you scroll, and the male-female dichotomy and the gender war is there, and you know what I mean? It's like all these different voices and noises, and you know what I mean? It's like ping pong effect. So the chat room is like ping pong effect. You know what I mean? Like, oh, ZaZa, I love your content. It's so beautiful. Like, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, okay, cool. Much love, King. And then it's like, yeah, I'm the antagonist in the building. What's good? Then it's like, block him. Then it's like, nah, sometimes we need to hear that. Then it's like, you know, just all these different, you know what I mean? It's a lot. And all I'm really trying to do is share the message of Wallace Whittles and Masaru Emoto, and take us back and think about some positive, powerful things in terms of our ancient teachers, to keep the vibration high, to keep us, you know, in the mindset of in this world and not of it, like the Black Buddha on the screen. And I had to show the Black Buddha so we don't have to have the conversations about those people weren't African or those people weren't original indigenous. Like, no, all people originally were Black, dark-skinned people. So I have one more passage that I want to read, and then I'm going to let you guys go. How long have I been talking now? About 1 hour and 45 minutes, I think. Yeah, y'all know, I don't, listen. I really just come online to try to, you know what I mean? Do my part, show some love, tap in with you guys. The energy is low. People are scared. California just went up on gas again, 65 cents per gallon. That's a lot when the gas was already high. You got 2 cities within, 20 miles from me, maybe 30 miles from me, that are flattened at ash. You got the situation with ice happening here. It's a major energy vortex here. You got the Hollywood element here. You have all these seasons of awards just passed by. They're all rituals, right? It's a lot happening in this space. And it's a lot happening in America. And the anti-American sentiment is increasing by day. I saw an article where it was saying Trump is warning Americans that we shouldn't go to certain places now because of anti-American sentiment. No, this dude. Let's make sure that energy goes where it needs to go, because the world needs to understand that on a spiritual level, America is a very, 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 very sacred place. And there are people here that are very, very, very sacred, and that have been specifically prepared for this moment in time, and that are not only gonna, the grid stabilizers are not only gonna eventually stabilize the grid of America, but that are gonna stabilize the grid of this planet. So be careful about, trying to send that negative juju this way, because what American military and government has done to your country and your nation. What do you think it's like? It's been like living here. Yeah, we got a pot of gold waiting for us at the end of the rainbow here. So God bless everybody moving to the motherland. God bless everybody moving around the world. And God bless those of us who end up staying here or who end up doing both. But please understand, there's been a certain condition and circumstances and frequency and energetic resonance that has taken place here for a very long time now that has created a very specific condition. Facts. Those who were last shall be first. Hiram Abiff buried in a shallow grave, waking up right now. I'm here speaking to you, talking to you right now. Oh, you got a problem? I'm a woman? well, you're going to have to get over that. I'm being facetious. I know I'm not talking to anybody in particular, but I feel like I'm talking to somebody particular. So if you feel like it's you, then it probably is. You know what I mean? JL, you got to spell my name right, family. It should be somewhere like very, very close. It's actually in the chat room. Malik said it. You know what I mean? It's ZaZa, ZaZa. It means belonging to all. But I should quantify that and say belonging to all the righteous. And you see, just like that, it's all this, you know what I mean? It's all love. I appreciate you. Much love for the super chat. It's all good. Okay, so let's come back to the lesson here. I have my page marked, and then, you know, it's a technology situation. And we see, wait, let me start up here. The most important revelation is that of resonance. Sounds of the same frequency resonate. This can be understood by making use of a tuning fork, a Y-shaped instrument used to tune the pitch of an instrument or a voice. So now we have another, the next reflection is the fork tune, right? We had the crystal ball video. I'm gonna play that one more time. It's like 5 seconds. So just for context. With the birds in the background, right? So these different modalities help to fine tune our energetic resonance. We got the healing bowl, we got the Tibetan stupa, we have the energetic resonance that is created in water when we pray over it, when we meditate over it, when we speak life into it, right? And we have plenty of data to verify and confirm that. We have the vibration, our individual vibration, which is how we eat, how we think, how we feel, how we breathe, and how we live, right? And that determines an energetic resonance. When one side creates a frequency and the other responds with the same sound, they resonate. It's said that like attracts like, so it would appear that vibrations attract and act and interact with each other. This is why the internet is so interesting, because light attracts everything, family. We can prove it in our real lives, right? Through our interpersonal relationships. But even on the internet, it's always fascinating to me why people who don't like me will watch me. So that darker spirit is always, if you're striving to walk in the light, if you're striving to do good, if you're striving to be good, you always got that dark spirit trying to walk with you, trying to find a way to consume you, trying to find a way to divert you from your path, right? So this is why I always say two opposing frequencies can't occupy the same space at the same time. There's going to be friction. So, you know, we come together to have a soul-to-soul, heart-to-heart, mind-to-mind conversation. This is an ointment for my audience. That's the purpose of this conversation. Alchemizing the situation. This is an ointment for the people who rock with me. This is a stop, turn all of that shit off, and let's come in the house, come to the center. Let's remember who we are. Let's remember where we are. Let's remember the timeline. Let's remember our goals and aspirations and desires. Let's remember the flaws and the shortcomings that we need to work through right now, because these are kinks in our armor. The people of God, the role for us right now, the work for us right now is to work through the kinks in our armor, our spiritual armor. So for some of us, that's diet, the way we eat. For some of us, that's the man or the woman that's laying next to us in the bed. For some of us, that's our relationships with our children or lack thereof. For some of us, it's the trauma and the dysfunction of growing up in traumatic and dysfunctional families and backgrounds and upbringings. Lack of support, lack of, a lot of us have never been properly loved. And so we go in relationships and we not properly loving people. We just, resonating and reciprocating, that half-ass love, you know, everything is good until after the wedding type vibes. Now you commit yourself and spend, you know, and declare your love in front of everybody, and then everything goes down here from there, just heal from there. Just the way people talk about marriage is all wrong. Oh, we got married and everything was downhill from there. I rebuke that. Don't talk like that around me. I want to see people in love. I want to see people committed and having beautiful relationships, and men and women, you know what I mean? That pyramid element, man, woman, and child, or just man and woman, right? But establishing something that can create something beautiful and something powerful. So don't talk about marriage like that. We should really fine tune our language. So much of it is lack-based consciousness. She is rising into her throne. Working on it, King. Working on it. Yes. Peace. I just posted about needing to. Word, Malik. How does being empathetic make you a better person? Doesn't absorbing other emotions disrupt internal peace? Buddha seems to be only absorbing tranquility. So let me read that again. How does being empathetic make you a better person? Doesn't absorbing other emotions disrupt internal peace? Buddha seems to be only absorbing tranquility. Empathy doesn't mean absorbing other people's emotions. It means being mindful. To me, empathy more than anything means being self-aware and mindful and conscientious of our energetic footprint in the way that it impacts and affects other people. That's real empathy to me, because most people are operating in the world are not responsible for their own energy. So they're constantly projecting. Walk into a room and you walk into the DMV and it's a long line, and now your energy is affecting the person at the first line, and then the person at the second line, and then the person who got to take you on a driving test. You done ruined everybody's day because you have no self-awareness. Versus, I'm having a bad day, but you know what? Let me get my energy in check, because I got to go out here and interact with these other people, and they don't have anything to do with what's going on in my world. That's empathy to me. Requires a very high level of self-awareness. So this is not about absorbing other people's emotions. This is about being cognizant and mindful of your own emotions, and in charge of and mindful of your own emotions and how they affect other people. And then a level of that, depending on your personal disposition, because people like me, I want to add value where I go, right? So for me, I ain't going in places and like standing on no pit and talking. Like, no, I'd rather actually be in the background. But when situations present themselves, and they always do, where people need a word, where people need an ear, where people need somebody that can, kind of give them a leg up, even if it's just a conversation in a line, I'm here for that. That's empathy. There's no benefit to me in terms of, time is money. I ain't talking to you if it ain't about money. Like, no, I don't operate in the world like that. Because the same way that those, like I said, my climbing the ladder of self meetings, they're mutually beneficial for me. And I'm the one who's doing the workshops, because these women are allowing me to listen to them and to hold space for them. And they're teaching me through their life experiences. Listening is one of the greatest representations of empathy that there is. And most people don't know how to listen. So yeah, that's we might differ on the explanations of the word, but that's my that's my representation of what that means. Holding the fork over pained area in the body actually changes the sound created. Continuous exposure to the fork ease the pain. Yeah, and in the movie Heal, the documentary Heal, which I think is on Amazon or Netflix. It was on Netflix at one point. But in that movie, they talk about how you can pinpoint a specific frequency that is that matches your DNA frequency. And using that specific frequency through this technology that they have, they can pinpoint that frequency and beam that frequency into your body and heal serious, cancerous, life-threatening type diseases, And so we got that. Then we have the microcosmic orbit, right? Where we're talking about moving chi throughout the body. So you can use meditation and breath work practices. You can use the cultivation of prana and life force energy with practices like yoga, with practices like obviously salat, which is yoga, but there's also the prayer and the chanting element, which you don't have to be religious to respect the fact. We just saw in the video, they said the Muslim prayers were powerful, the Christian prayers were powerful, all of the prayers were powerful because the people meant them. So what's really activating the prayer is not the religion, it's your intention and your belief in the actual prayer that you're sending out into the universe. That's why I'm not anti-religious, because why would I be? I'm just anti, just keep it real. You know what I mean? Stop lying. So the tuning forks, the singing bowls, right? Even the frequency in the ocean. When you sit by the ocean and the waves are coming in and out, if you listen to it long enough, it sounds like a frequency that I would even be listening to on my phone. So where's the empathy for calling me an antagonist? There is none. The greatest secret of Japanese martial arts is referred to as winning without fighting. This essentially means avoiding resonating with the enemy. To fight and win results in resonance with the enemy, and so the level of relationship is very low. They're talking to you, society. Let me just, you see how synchronicity lines up right there? I didn't even have this passage prepared for anything, but it is highlighted on the page that I just so happen to be on. So we're going to read that again. The greatest secret of Japanese martial arts is referred to as winning without fighting. This essentially means avoiding resonating with the enemy. To fight and win results in resonance with the enemy, and so the level of relationship is very low. It's just a relationship that I'm not interested in having. When frequencies are fundamentally incompatible, they cannot resonate. We cannot accept what is fundamentally different from us. That's why you're here antagonizing, because our frequencies are so different. We're not aligned. And yet you continue to come around. It's actually quite fascinating to me. You've been here for a long time. See how the words just, how things just synchronize like that? Humans are the only creatures that have the capacity to resonate with all other creatures and objects found in nature. Listen, family, we were talking in the meeting on this weekend about, gardening. And so many people have this real passion for gardening now. Yes, we want to grow food, obviously, to take control of our sovereignty in that way. But a large part of that is also that we really have this strong yearning and need to be back realigned and connected with Mother Nature. You know what I mean? There's this real strong people who are in that spiritual space right now. We're yearning for something that this world is not giving us. It's boring. I saw you guys in the comment were agreeing with when I said that. Like, we want more. We need depth. We need a higher state of consciousness. We need higher forms of conversation. It's only so, you know what I mean? It's only so much I can listen to these useful idiots before my brain starts to metastasize, or, you know what I mean? Pineal gland being calcified, blow by blow. Society is trying to decalcify my pineal gland right now. Pause, but it'll never happen. I know you know what I mean? The light is affecting you as well. You play your position. Everything plays its position. We can speak with all that exists in the universe. We can give out energy and also receive energy in return. However, this ability is a two-edged sword. When people are out only on their own greed, They emit an energy that serves to destroy the harmony within nature. Trump. I'm looking for a specific passage, you guys. Just hang on one second. I had my page marked and I lost it. Okay, well, maybe I can't find it then. Maybe this is God's way of telling me that I just need to go off, you know what I mean? Just speak from the heart. I always try to. All right, fine. I can't find it. So let me just make sure I make my point here before I let you guys go, because I know it's late. Let me see. Is there anything else that I wanted to share in here that I can share that I didn't? Okay, and let me remove this. So it's easy to look sharp when you haven't done any work. This is the timeline we're in right now to really do that inner work. It's a great and dreadful day. You know what I mean? It's a great day for those of us who are doing that inner work, who know how to, tap out of the frequency of this world when we need to, because we're really going to have to be able to do that to stabilize ourselves in these coming days, y'all. Like, it's not getting any better. Hopefully it's getting better for you. Hopefully it's getting better within. I saw a video of a brother today saying, he was like, what war? My vibration is so high. I don't, that the war is not a part of my reality. But you're talking about the war. Don't be so spiritual that you're no earthly good. Because we came here as spiritual beings to have physical experiences. So we came here to mix it up. You know what I mean? So right now, the learning curve is very important. The spiritual learning curve is very important. The discernment learning curve is very important. Because that Agent Smith energy can come through a Donald Trump. It can come through a Netanyahu. It can come through a police officer you run through in the streets. Or it can come through a family member. And sometimes it comes through yourself. And that's why that conversation with the inner voice is so critical and so important. So these different great minds and the videos and the ancient practices and the healing modalities and the frequencies and vibrations, like, it only matters if it's adding value to you. So use it for that, and learn how to turn this world off when you need to turn this world off so you can maintain your frequency. When I get tired of society, I will block him in the comments. Right now, his frequency and his intention is not powerful enough to shake me or to take me off my square. You know what I mean? Every now and then I do appreciate a minor intellectual spur. This isn't even an intellectual spur. It's just that antagonist spirit. I deal with it every now and then so I can deal with the Trumps and the Bill Gates of the world. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to deal with that with the people on the lower end of the pyramid so you can deal with it with the people at the higher end of the pyramid. I'm okay with it. Waiting on the golden age after this. So Richie Rich, this is what's so funny. I don't know if any of the members of my workshop this weekend are in the chat room, but that was one of the things that I was emphasizing in that conversation. Like, we need to be preparing for a golden age on an individual level, and the golden age on the individual level is what's going to contribute to that golden age. So let me go through my notes and make sure I said everything. Alchemize the situation, the splintering of energy and consciousness. So you see how everybody is all over the place. That's a reflection for us to stay away from. The splintering of consciousness. Everybody all over the place. You at the ICE protests on Saturday and at the anti-war protests on Sunday. It's difficult to maintain a certain vibration when you got that type of energy around you. It's just a fact. It's not an anti-protest sentiment. It just is what it is. Learn how to quiet and control your mind. If you can't sit for 10 or 15 minutes without the world being constantly bombarding your, to-do list, email list, what I didn't do, what I got to do, all of that, then you need to sit until you can. That concept of ma'at being light and the heart being light as a feather, that also speaks to that empathy aspect. I translate that as empathy when the heart is as light as a feather. Because again, that's about being conscientious of your energetic blueprint. So here's an important thing to say, because it just came to me. Right now, the self-awareness is the primary focus, right? And so you being mindful of your energetic blueprint as you walk out into the world. Your energetic blueprint when you're at work, not what they did to you, human resources manager, co-workers, blah, 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 local organizations or things you're a part of, like being conscientious about maintaining a certain frequency in all spaces, in all conversations. Like I said, going back to what Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. But we're talking about some godly shit, not politics. There's too many devils in that space. I don't want to go low or high. I want you to move from around me. You know what I mean? But on a spiritual level, though, that's what empathy is. Going high when they go low. Right? In a world where you got these people, Netanyahu and Trump, coming forward and using words like spectacular and fantastic when it comes to war and taking lives and ruining nations. You know what I mean? So I can look at that situation and not embellish or magnify the tragedy of the situation and still have compassion. I would never handle human beings that way. And we should have higher standards as Black people, as African people, as Native, Indigenous people from all around the world. We need to start reestablishing the standards for how we're operating in the world. How do we do that? I just told you. On an individual level, start being mindful and conscientious of our energetic resonance, how you affect the room, how you affect the relationship, how you affect the job, how you affect the conversation, how you affect you commenting on a post on Instagram or Facebook. What are you adding or contributing to that situation? And so the tuning bells, and I wanted to emphasize that stuff to kind of counterbalance this conversation about AI, because AI is now really being, worshipped in a very fearful context, which that energy is also being harnessed as well. So looking at some of the ancient technologies and finding ways, as with the coils and the copper, right? Realizing that putting copper coils in soil and how it magnifies the chi in the area, which makes the plant life grow faster. Well, that's a modern day representation of what they were doing in ancient times. And it works. And there's no AI involved. Imagine that. The goal is shock and awe, family. That's going to be their modus operandi over these next couple of years. Shock and awe. We got to find ways to counterbalance that. We got to find ways to rituals and healing modalities and meditations and places we can go where we can turn off the vibration of this world and tap into the Most High. Because their plan is shock and awe. And I for a long time, I didn't even really like talking like that, but we're seeing it playing out right in front of us every day. They're playing major mind games. Yeah, we just dropped 3 heavy ones on them. And then 2 days later, yeah, it's all peace. It's all love. I fixed the problem. They're trying to neutralize humanity to the shock and awe. So a week full of nonstop chaos, 2 weeks full of, is nothing too serious, nothing too deep. Another week full of nonstop chaos, a week full of, it's a consistent thing. Remember the tariffs? We just got over that. Remember the UFOs? That's, they're these strange UFOs. They only, choose a certain time. It's fascinating. Then they disappear. Guess they have other work to do on other planets. the surveillance state aspect and the interesting dichotomy of surveillance versus sovereignty, right? Because our goal right now is sovereignty in all of our affairs. You got to be applying yourself to be sovereign emotionally. Balance of empathy and, compassion, but also discernment. Because sometimes you got to be shrewd. Sovereignty over your mind, so that these people aren't have you on this ping pong situation with all this information coming out, and every day is something else. You know what I mean? Being able to maintain a calm mind in the center of chaos is critical, and it's not something that you can buy a pill for or take an online class and learn how to do it in a month. Some people it takes lifetimes. So this is the work that we have to do right now. Spiritual sovereignty, physical sovereignty. You got to be able to run up a flight of stairs, family. Not that it's going to require you to run up a flight of stairs, but if you can't run up a flight of stairs without being completely out of breath, then we're already, we can't even talk about what we need to do in the world. We got to start talking about what we need to do with you. Look at yourself. Having the balance of ma'at means knowing light and darkness, protagonist, antagonist. We all grow together. Yeah, and then some of us just represent one thing. You've been representing darkness in the whole conversation. So that's not ma'at. That's just darkness. You haven't added any value to this conversation yet, but you're being who you are. So, again, you serve an important purpose for us here as well. Active listeners. He was talking, let me see, which video was that? Dang, I couldn't even play the video. Never mind. I can't even make that point now because it was connected to something he said. The irony is in my notes right here, I have Donald Trump and then I have an arrow and then Joker and then antagonist. So, you know what I mean? It was written. I prophesized that you would arrive, and you have, and you played your position. Good job. Now all you need to do is drop a super chat for the amount of time and energy that I've given you today. Can't be weak energetically right now, family. We got to be strong energetically. So whatever those things are that are pulling at you, that in a lot of it, this is about decisions that we need to make, that we're scared to confront or scared to make, or leaps that we need to make, so to speak. We talk about quantum leaping. Let's just do that regular leaping right now. To leave that relationship, to start that business, to go back to school, to move to another location, etc. Like, we got to start being way more definitive and decisive in the way that we're moving in the world right now, and maintain the light no matter what. It's ironic that Diddy, they said in the trial when he was talking to the Jane Doe chick, she was freaking out and upset with him. He said, just stay in the light. One of the worst things you could tell a woman when she 150, stay in the light. Apparently he's never seen the light, but we're gonna stay in the light. You know what I mean? And not become victims to this energy harnessing that they're doing right now. We need people that are willing to, up the ante on the empathy, to up the ante on the love, to up the ante on the self-awareness, so we can raise the vibration on this planet. And I don't mean that like sacrifice yourself for the greater good. No, I mean follow your dreams. Stop playing with your dreams. Stop playing with your goals. Stop playing with your desires. Follow your passions. Find a way. Make a way. Yeah, 5150. You already know, sis. Stay in the light. Okay. We'll catch these hands. Not me, of course, but y'all know how it goes. So anyway, the last thing I want to say, the title for my the class this weekend was Harnessing Your Energy. And we've been talking about how our energy is being harnessed by the quote unquote powers that used to be. And so I flipped that narrative, and I'm going to continue to talk about this concept of harnessing your energy. So all that energy that you've been giving away to other people, ladies in particular, the serving of everyone else but ourselves, the being in, 10 places and nowhere at one particular time, that splintering of our energy and our consciousness, all of that, we gotta start being very mindful and conscientious of harnessing our own energy. That's what sexual transmutation is. And we read a passage from Montauk Chia's Cultivating the Female Sexual Energy, where it was talking about how for women, sexual energy really deals with the menstrual cycle. That's how most of our sexual energy is expressed, and it takes a lot of it out of us, right? So the average woman is expelling 30 to 40% of her sexual energy through her menstrual cycle once a month. And she's also expelling 10 to 60% of her energy through negative emotions, right? So 30 to 40%, and then 10 to 60%, which for some women makes 100%, right? But it's talking about how the correlation between the sexual energy of the menstrual cycle and the negative emotions. And the point that I was making is women have such difficult, number one, menstrual cycles, but then when they get into that perimenopause and menopausal state, and their bodies start to, one of the ladies in the group said, wither and die. That's how she's been thinking about being in perimenopause, because that's how everybody has been projecting, right, in terms of what's happening in her body is this deterioration phase, right? And so the point that I was making is that women get into their 40s and 50s, and because they've abandoned themselves mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, not all, but many, dare I say most, they've expressed and expelled so much of their life force energy on everyone but themselves that by the time they get in their 40s and 50s, they don't have the mental and emotional and spiritual stored up energy to be able to counterbalance the physical, I don't even want to say the word deterioration, I want to say evolution of their bodies that take place during that time. So it's a major deficit in that capacity, because your body has been sustaining you during the timeline of you abandoning and neglecting self mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So if you're interested in joining one of my Climbing the Ladder of Yourself workshops for the ladies, if I get 5 women that are interested, I'll start another round, because I'm thoroughly enjoying myself with this experience. It's a 6-month program. If you email me, info@ZaZaAli.com, I will tap in with you. And if we get 5 interested ladies, then we can get it started. Other than that, I am very grateful to you guys for your time, for your attention, for listening. And I hope women really take what I just said and really, really meditate on that, because that's a real bar. The life force energy is being sucked out of us. Pause. You know what I mean? It's a cultural thing. It's not even a race thing. It's a societal thing where the life force energy is being drained out of us for most of our life. And then by the time we hit our 40s and 50s, we haven't stored up enough energy mentally, spiritually, physically, sexually, going back to that sexual energy with the Taoist, which the Taoists call Jing. We're supposed to be cultivating that sexual energy to sustain us in our 40s and 50s. These young sisters out here, 20 and 25 years old, bragging about having hundreds of bodies. Make it make sense. I'll never understand. You know what I mean? But that's not for me to understand. That video I told you guys about concubine culture on steroids, I'm going to post that one of these days. Maybe I'll do it live. And I'm going to get into that Jing energy, that sexual energy from a female perspective, but then also from a male perspective. And this is why, again, from Diddy to Smokey Robinson to Fat Joe to who else? Tyler Perry. When I say the devil comes at you in a straight and narrow path, look at how much of sexual behavior, sexual deviancy, sexual energy is playing a role in the downfall of these people. So if I say God is in the details, then what is God telling the righteous ones to do? To be sexually disciplined. And that goes for, especially if you're not in a relationship, but even if you're in a relationship, especially as you age and ripen. Like, storing that sexual energy is critical to help you maintain a mentally, spiritually, emotionally stable disposition in this society. Now, if you just want to go out and turn up and get your twerk, and well, sorry, I shouldn't say twerk. People have to always, women always explaining why they twerk to me. So let me not put that in there. Sorry. Operate in the concubine frequency. My interpretation of the concubine energy is when you are leading with the lower nature in sexual energy. The ancient or the old customary terminology for concubine would be, the females who are part of the harem of any particular king. Well, I remixed it because I feel like I can. So concubine, in my interpretation, can apply to men and women. So Diddy was a concubine, and the prostitutes that he was paying were concubines too. It's equal opportunity as far as gender, as far as I'm concerned. What about porn? What about it? Do you think porn is a representation of the lower nature? Do tell. Is porn an expression or a representation of the lower nature? The billion-dollar industry now. Hundreds of billions. Okay then. Well, there you go. So is there a particular question, or is it because if porn proves the point, right? So is there a particular question you want to ask me about that? And I'm not being facetious. I want to make sure that I'm, I don't want you guys to, I be a little snappy sometimes, and it's never personal. It's just, all praises are due to the one and only Queen ZaZa. Yes, and all praises are most definitely due to the Most High. You know what I mean? Which is love. And that divine mind that we talked about before. That's what we're here to represent, So porn is one of the most prominent ways that they're keeping the masses locked in that lust-based frequency and consciousness. That's why men who understand how to transmute that sexual energy and turn that energy into a, building a business, or, studying a particular field, or mastering something about themselves, or a specific physical type of expression. This is what that sexual transmutation of energy is. It's different for women, right? And that's the other thing, like the difference between the, these little layers of how we do things, how we operate in the world. So men who are able to transmute that sexual energy and get control of themselves sexually have a way higher energetic resonance, because they don't have all them bodies on them, just like women. And the woman is being penetrated, so it's a different type of energetic transference in that regard. And some men are being penetrated too, but we're not here to speak on their behalf. It's a world I don't quite comprehend. Some women are being penetrated too in that way. So I'm just saying, it's a lot of shit going on. I'll just, you know what I mean? But the point is, when I do this video, it might be concubine culture on steroids. It might be I'm trying to find a simple, I'll be too nerdy sometimes. I know that. I'm trying to find a simple way to have the title. The lower nature of sexuality on trial. I'm trying to get the on trial aspect and the lower sexual nature. So I got to find the right words. When I have the right words, I'll film it. But just going through all these high profile celebrity cases and how they're using this now as a means of humiliation, right? Including Kanye West showing up at the courthouse to verify that he is indeed a cuck. A man who traveled around the world doing Sunday service now is working for, the other people, apparently. Straight and narrow path. So they're trying to neutralize us to all of this debauchery and all of this craziness sexually, because that's how the devil can get in. And for a lot of people, that's how the devil stays in, So going back to the point about women and sexual energy, because we don't talk about this a lot. In terms of from girlhood to teenage years to early womanhood, and that variation that takes place in our bodies, and as we get older, the continuous wear and tear of self-neglect. Women, ladies, I'm talking to you. The continuous wear and tear of self-neglect is why our menstrual cycles, to whom it may concern, are so out of balance. Is why the statistics of fibroids and tumors are so high. Is why heart disease is a prominent disease in our culture and takes many lives. Is why we hold a lot of trauma in our wombs and in our hips. So, porn has exposed people to weird-ish and normalized animalistic behaviors. In fact, the trial on lower sexual nature, that's almost there. It's almost there. I just, I don't want it. I don't want it to be highbrow. I'm trying to, the title is, people like simplicity. If my title would probably be a full title and a subtitle, but you try to get the title to be something simplistic that'll grab the person's ear, because it is a lot about celebrities. But if you notice, I don't really put celebrities in my titles. I could get a lot more views. I'll do a video where I'm talking about that, but I won't put it in my titles because I don't want people who are only tuned in because of celebrities. You know what I mean? Because the real stars are really getting ready to surface right now. So I'm gonna meditate on that, but I've already put a lot of it together. Smokey Robinson, Tyler Perry, Diddy, the whole world of Hugh Hefner, right? And then that running parallel with the Catholic diocese across America. They're coming forward and paying out all these money to these alleged victims. So you have that. You have, I don't know if you guys see the commercials on YouTube and Instagram. All these people who are, the juvenile justice system and the adoption agency systems are all coming forward and saying, if you as a child were taken advantage of by this person, call this number. Like advertisements and commercials, if you were, sexually abused as a child, call this number and we'll get you some money. I'm seeing a lot of those ads. So there's that aspect. There's the, I think a lot more happened in that Diddy situation when they turned up at his house. And even the fact that he rests his defense without putting up any rebuttals or any defendants. When he did that, I was like, he might get out. Because I feel like that's one of those things that they would be like, okay, we put you through enough now. Don't say anything. Let this play out and we'll get you out. It doesn't make any sense that he doesn't have any particular defense. I don't know what's up with that. It made my spidey senses definitely tingle though. It made my ears stand up a little bit, like no defense whatsoever. You don't have no girlfriends that can come forward and say they had a normal relationship with you. So they're going to go right from him to Tyler Perry and all this other stuff. So we're in the movie family. Yeah. Adverse childhood experiences, ACE, key factors, facts, and shout out to the brilliant queen, what's her name, from San Francisco, Fillmore District, Nadine Burke. If you guys haven't watched her TED Talk, she talks about adverse childhood experiences. Very beautiful, powerful sister. And she breaks down how, the more difficult your childhood experiences was growing up, the more you are prone to physical disease and physical ailments and your body breaking down at a particular point. So that's one aspect of it, right? The ACE childhood experiences is about, okay, your parents were divorced, or you had a parent that was incarcerated, or somebody did drugs. Maybe you guys were homeless, right? You had a sibling, or maybe you dealt with violence in the household. Maybe you had a sibling that had mental issues, right? There's a score that you can calculate based on the difficulty of the upbringing of the child. And the higher the score, the higher the propensity is for them to have very detrimental physical illnesses like cancer, diabetes, etc. at a later age. Now, quantify that or not even juxtapose that, because it runs parallel with what I just said about women. It's just a different math, right? For you go, 40 to 45 to 50 years of neglecting and abandoning yourself mentally and emotionally and spiritually, right? Just going along to get along and not fully properly taking care of yourself and having, a keen sense of self-awareness. So by the time you get to a certain age, your body starts to feel the brunt. Your body starts to pay the price, because what else are you going to pay attention to? If you're avoiding listening to yourself, dealing with your emotions, correcting your mind, getting on some sort of spiritual path, if you're avoiding all those things your whole entire life, then the only way for God to get to you is through your body. So the fall of the bad boy Sodom and Gomorrah, facts. Sodom and Gomorrah is absolutely coming from behind the scenes. They want people to know how they get down. And you see how it's all black men. You see how they're using black men as the face of this? That is very intentional. Not just because they're trying to blame it all on black men, because they all want to come out from out the closet. But it's because it's way more entertaining and engaging when it's us. We're way more prone to pay attention. It's more spectacular, to use Donald Trump's words. You know what I mean? The downfall of a black man is much more spectacular than, let's say, a Harvey Weinstein. Nobody even paid attention to that. Mind you, they're trying to reopen his case. So there's that. Even if he walks, the business will never be the same. Yeah, he's done. He's done. My ACE score is mad high, but I refuse to let that determine my life and health outcomes. So I'll leave you guys with this, because in my workbook, Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance, I have a section in there called What is Your Master Teacher, right? And that section comes after the part in the book where I talk about the ACE score, right? Because going back to the alchemizing the situation, this is critical. And this is, thank you so much, Samantha, for saying that, because it's the perfect way to end this. So we talk about alchemizing the situation. Alchemy is the science of turning lead or lead-based metals into gold, right? Now put the physical science to the side for a second. And in terms of the life experience, the lead or the base metals is the difficulty of the life upbringing, the difficulty of the family circumstances, lack of support, trauma, violence, right? All that stuff in the ACE score, the severity of the difficulty. Most people can't get beyond it. Most people get stuck there. And some of them are still functioning. They still functioning in the world. They might have good jobs. They might, you know what I mean, be upstanding people in the community in some regard, but they still are stagnant in certain ways because they can't alchemize those experiences, right? To become their highest and best selves, which is a mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically wholesome person. I'll say that. That ain't the right words, but let me stay on point. So those of us who are able to alchemize those circumstances and not get stuck there and heal from it, and not only heal from it, because when you heal yourself, you teach other people how to heal themselves, right? So those of us who are able to alchemize those circumstances are the ones that are able to produce and transmit spiritual, emotional, mental, and life experience gold. That's why I say Black America is so important. It's the microcosm and the macrocosm. That's why I know Black people are so important, because the pendulum swing from what we've been through and how it has to swing to the equal or greater end of the pendulum, just like the severity and difficulty of life, your life circumstances, if you don't get caught in it, and you can swing the pendulum back to the other side, and it has to be an equal or greater aspect. And the worse the situation is, the better the outcome can be. The more trying and traumatic and difficult your upbringing is, the more brilliant and beautiful and abundant the outcome can be. That's alchemy. So alchemize the situation. You know? They want to show Black men as abnormal, unable to create stable families, and as savages, you know, and the leader of the savages. Because like I said, they want all the savages to come out the closet. So It's just a matter of, making it acceptable in the collective consciousness. Fat Joe is the first non-black man to be accused of sexual misconduct, along with Tyler Perry, Diddy, Shannon Sharp, Smokey Robinson. Well, so we have Harvey Weinstein, we have Jerry Sandusky, we have Ghislaine Maxwell, we have Epstein, even though we know that situation, the fugazi of it, but he was put on trial and held accountable. There are a lot of them, the Catholic diocese, what I just talked about, those are white men. Those preachers that are messing around with those boys in those altar rooms, yeah, those are, those aren't us. So they're accepting accountability for their deeds right now. So on a level, it is about race, but then it's also beyond that too, because they're really trying to normalize this type of behavior. So all of the, say the freaks come out at night, they want all the freaks to come out at night. You know what I mean? But thank you for reminding me of Shannon Sharp, because there is so many of these cases. I forgot about Shannon Sharp with his, oh God, if you're going to say a fool and his money will soon part ways. Yeah, man, this is what I'm saying. Our men, we got to be way sharper, way more thorough than this. These are terrible examples for our son. So with all of that being said, I'm going to let you beautiful people go. I have talked for, let's see, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Okay. But you guys rock with me. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. If you're interested in joining me in the Climbing the Ladder of Yourself workshop, ladies, email me, info@ZaZaAli.com. My Cash App information is in the description. I have given you guys a very good amount of my time and energy today, so reciprocity is always appreciated. My website is ZaZaAli.com. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you beautiful people again very soon. Peace and love.